We are not doctors. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice. Consult your physician before starting any workout routine. This is the Martial Heart Podcast.
Hey, how are you? Welcome back. I just wanted to throw together a quick video to explain a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of days. You'll see that I'm in the Christmas spirit. I've got my Nakatomi Plaza Christmas party, 1988. You guys can't see it, can you? Look, okay, Christmas party 1988. T-shirt on. It's my Christmas shirt. And I'll be wearing that Christmas Eve too, probably, because it's so pretty and Christmassy. But audio trials is what we talk about on this version of the podcast. And you'll see that I have, that's the Rode NT1. And this is a condenser studio microphone, studio condenser, which means it's highly sensitive. And it's generally not good for using in untreated spaces for things like podcasts and Zoom calls and things of that nature. But it appears that I've done enough treatment in this room that I can now use this microphone for my podcast. I put together a podcast on my conspiracy show earlier this morning using this microphone, and it turned out kind of nice. But for now, I'm going to stick to this one most of the time. That was just sort of an experiment to see if anybody notices and, if anybody makes a comment about the sound quality. But a couple of other things I figured out. You'll notice that there's a big foam pop filter on these things, a windscreen pop filter. People call them different things. But now there's a reason for it other than the peas, the popping, and the, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper pop sounds that happen in the microphone. We've talked about this 7600 hertz electromagnetic interference that I'm getting from an electrical circuit in the house. Tried numerous things. This is a Mogami Gold microphone cable, which is said to be basically the best microphone cable that you can buy. And it's like double shielded for radio frequency and electromagnetic interference and things like that. Well, this one on the NT1 comes from the Canary Company, the world's best cable. And it's also shielded. No, wait a minute. Am I talking about the right microphone? No, this one. Never mind. That one, I'll explain it later. That's a Livewire Elite. This one up here, though, that's on this now is the world's best cable, microphone cable, also shielded, exceptionally well shielded against RFI, EMI interference. And this one is, it's another one. I don't remember. This one is the Livewire Elite. So I got all these new fancy cables that are going to insulate you against EMI, RFI, right? No, they don't. Sorry. It's only going to shield things that are picked up by the microphone cabling itself, not the microphone capsule, apparently. What's happening is these frequencies are smashing into my microphone capsules, and the microphone itself is picking it up. And it doesn't matter how much shielding, I guess, I have on the cables, it's still going to get through to the machine. So there's really nothing I can do about it other than keep trying to identify the source. I know roughly where it is, on what level it is in the house. I just haven't figured out exactly what it is. I might have to start taking apart lighting sockets and stuff. But one thing that I discovered on accident is that this foam pop filter stops that frequency from getting into the microphone. Mostly. You really have to crank it up, really high gain, really high volume on your faders to detect it when it has these pop filters on it. And I discovered that on accident. Stand by. When I was trying to track down the source of the issue And I kept experimenting with which microphone do I have that picks it up the most. So that was the Shure SM57, which I have right here. And it normally doesn't have this pop filter on it. It is pretty much just the end of the capsule, because this microphone is generally used for miking instrument cabinets and things. You can use it for anything else, but it really will need this pop filter. It's a special pop filter made especially for this. But when it's in this configuration, it picks up that frequency a lot, very loudly. And well, when I'm looking for it, I crank it up all the way on the gain and everything so that it's going to come across really loud. But this microphone picks it up a lot. And you'll notice there's nothing on there. There's no foam. There's just like a mesh to protect the capsule. That's it. So what I noticed the other day when I was playing around with this was that, all right, well, screw it. I guess I can't use this microphone anymore. And I put this pop filter back on it because I was using this for vocals. And it stopped, mostly. It dramatically reduced the interference sound in this microphone. And so I continued to experiment. And 7,600 hertz, it's inaudible. I mean, that frequency is audible to the human ear, but what's being picked up in the microphones is not audible. You can't hear it, but the microphone hears it and picks it up. And it's obviously a wave that's traveling up and down, because if you turn the microphone sideways, it doesn't interfere. It doesn't pick it up. It only does it if it's pointing up or down. So, but I do know it's emanating from downstairs on the ground floor level. And it's an electrical circuit, that it's coming off of the entire circuit, but something might be causing it. And I just have to keep looking for it. So I was like, what? Just the foam makes a difference. And I took my SM58, which is essentially pretty much the same microphone as the SM57. They have the same capsule in them, but the SM58 is tweaked a little bit. It's designed for handling and for, human voice and singing into it. But I took it and did the same thing. I took the protective globe off and just exposed the capsule, and it was a lot louder. And it would go away when I put that back on it. And at first I thought it might have been the mesh forming some sort of like a Faraday cage around the microphone capsule. But that's not what was happening. It's the foam on the inside. It has foam inside there to reduce plosives, your P sounds, hitting the microphone capsule. And it's that little piece of foam, as thin as it is, that's preventing that frequency from being so loud. This massive one, this, let's take a look. I'm sorry, it's going to be noisy for a second. But let's take this off like that. I've got everything arranged currently so that it's not that bad, and I have all my settings set that it's not actually being picked up in the recording. But if you take this giant pop filter, I think this one was actually made for the Rode PodMic, and stick that on there, and it reduces that frequency on this microphone to almost completely gone. So, very strange things, but I learned something, and that was that expensive cables, no matter what they say on them, and no matter what the marketing is behind them, they don't really do that much. It might make a difference if you have cheap cables. You might get a cleaner sound out of it. It might be a better quality sound that you're going to get from your microphone to your audio interface. And I have had that happen. I had a $5 cable somewhere, and I swapped it out for one of the more expensive ones, and the sound quality did improve pretty dramatically. But it's not going to stop that radio frequency and electromagnetic interference, apparently. So you have to come up with another solution. But what I found is that if it's a high enough frequency, the foam reduces high frequency. So the amount of it that's picked up by the capsule anyway. And it's other than being used just as a pop filter and a windscreen, sometimes voice actors will put that on there if the microphone they're using is too sibilant, if its high frequency range is amplified too much. And they need to bring that down a little bit because maybe they already have a high voice or they have a very sibilant voice. So they put a giant pop filter on it and it reduces those frequencies enough to where it's manageable. And that's kind of what it's doing with my EMI, RFI, whatever it is in the house. So I just thought I'd share that with people. If you're starting to have a problem like that with your audio, and it's a high frequency that you're detecting on your spectrogram, that would be my first recommendation now before spending $80 on an expensive microphone cable that claims to be shielding that stuff, which it may be. The cable may not be able to pick that stuff up, but the microphone still does. And I don't know why I didn't think about that before buying the cables, because the microphone is still going to pick it up. So the cable, I don't know how much of a difference that really makes. But they are high quality cables, so I don't regret buying them. They're literally like the best microphone cables you can buy. And they're highly rated. People love them. And so I don't regret buying them. They're just not going to do what I needed them to do. And this, I don't know, $13 piece of foam is doing a better job of fixing the issue than that $80 microphone cable. $80 for this. Anyway, they're expensive, but they're good. Supposedly, they're good. I did have the SM57 for sale on eBay. No one bought it, so I took it down. And I think I'm gonna start using Reverb. I went on there and set up an account last night. Since it's specifically for audio equipment, maybe I'll have a better chance of getting rid of some stuff on there. But there's some other videos I'm going to be doing with some of this equipment in the near future. When I have time, it's going to take several hours. So I kind of have to set aside a day or two in the evenings or something, or on a weekend to do all the things that I want to do with comparing audio interfaces and podcast production stuff and microphones. But I think I'm going to do the video of all the mistakes that I made so you don't have to. If you want to start a podcast or start some sort of a YouTube thing or something just for fun. And I seem to have made all the classic mistakes that people make. They jump in with both feet before they know what's going on without doing adequate research. And then the next thing you know, you've spent a lot of money on stuff you're not using. That's kind of exactly like me. But then I get into this thing. I don't want to get rid of it. I'm like, but that's a great microphone. Why would I want to get rid of it? It's a great microphone. And I know I have this Rodecaster Duo that's like considered state of the art for podcast production equipment. But I have that Mixcast 4 over there, and it's awesome too. So do I need to get rid of it? I don't know, because initially I was like, I'm going to figure out which one I like the best, and I'm just going to resell the other one. And now I don't know if I want to part with it now. I'm torn, and it's bad. It's really bad. Like, I have a single input audio interface, and I have a double input audio interface, both of which have industry leading low self noise. They're exceptional preamps in there, and they're amazing. I don't need them. I'm not using them anymore. But you might someday. What happens if I need to? I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to decide to part with some of this stuff because it was part of the journey of building all this stuff up. But I don't know. I guess I need to get rid of something to make myself feel better. But again, almost all of this stuff was picked up used. My SM58, my SM57 were purchased new directly from Shure. And the Rode NT1, this condenser microphone, was purchased new. Everything else I have, well, I guess the boom arms were bought new, things like that. But as far as microphones and audio interfaces go, none of them actually, now that I think about it. I guess one is new, but it was a resale store. So it may have been like an open box or something. I don't know. But so anyway, it's hard to think about what you're going to part with, because then I'm like, well, what if I want to mic up my guitar cabinet over there and rock out for a while? So I'm going to need that SM57 for that. But I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do it. Oh, my hands can't do it. If you're wondering, I do play guitar, and I used to sing and do the whole thing. I could sing, I could dance, I could act. I was a triple threat from back in the day, sort of. But I don't play that much anymore because I have arthritis and tendonitis, and I can't play much. I can play for a little while, but it's literally like 10 or 15 minutes before things start to cramp, things start to hurt, and I just can't do it. I can't keep playing. I probably could if I played a different type of music, or maybe a slightly different tempo, but, I like to rock out. So there's a lot of movement in my hand and my fingers, and it starts to get bad. It's the fret hand, not the strumming hand. It seems to be okay, but it gets pretty bad, so I can't do it. And then I put the guitar down and I don't touch it again for a couple of years, literally for a couple of years. So I'm never going to need that SM57 that I know of. The SM58 is a great microphone for vocals, and it's good. It would be perfectly fine for doing a podcast with, which is going to be part of my spiel when don't make all the mistakes I made. The SM58 is going to play an important role in that. But, that's like a backup microphone for any kind of guests. If I need 4 people on a podcast, of course, you wouldn't take this for a group podcast. It would pick up everybody talking about the NT1. But the dynamic microphones, that's an excellent vocal microphone for podcasting even. So, if I needed to mic somebody up, I could use that. And so I probably won't get rid of that one. But the SM57 needs to probably find a better home. It's sad but true. But I wanted to keep everybody up to date on my little audio issue that I was having and how I'm resolving it. And it seems like I'm beginning to manage it. And so I'm okay. I was so frustrated. I was getting ready to get rid of microphones and buy different microphones. I was gonna, go build a little desk studio in my workshop outside in the shed, whatever I was gonna come up with to get away from that sound. And I jokingly told my wife, I was like, if I can't resolve this, obviously we're going to have to move. But I was joking, of course, I think. But I guess it would depend on how successful the podcast was. If that's how I was making a living, yeah, I'd move to get a better sound. That's how petty I am about things. But, and then a simple piece of foam seems to manage it. Settings on an audio interface, tweaking them a little bit, seems to manage it. So even though if I crank this up to 100% or put it up to 11 or whatever, I would still be able to hear it. You have to turn it up to that level in order to hear it. So I'm managing it, and I think I'm going to be okay. And it was all just some foam. That's all I needed. That's all I needed. Would have cost me nothing. Anyway, I'll catch you all next time. And, if I don't talk to you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Eat the fruitcake, have the party, do the things. Wear a silly shirt or a sweater for Christmas. Just do it. You don't know how many Christmases you have left, so enjoy the ones you have.